Jab lunch on the beach.
Hey, let's go with 4 driving, man. It's gonna be a curveball. Let's go, Jose. Oh, you got that.
I can do this. Yeah. What are you doing, Thomas? Reporters have to get ready for the season 2. All right, welcome back to another JS episode alongside Coach Blake Butler from ECS. Coach Butler, thank you for coming on this week.
Appreciate you having me, Jonathan.
Take one, Coach. We're going to talk about your coaching days here at the ECS Eagles. Now you're back as a head coach again as an ECS Eagle. How's that feel?
Feels good. You know, I had a chance to coach under Coach Hines for 3 years, and Coach Walters for 1, and you know, just being familiar with the ECS community and just the tradition here, and it's really a special place, and just excited to be back as a head coach, and great staff here, and just great families.
Yeah, just talk about a little bit of your. You said you coached with Coach Hines, legendary Coach Hines, I might add. You know, Coach Walters, I call him still a legend a little bit. It's the way he put ECS a little bit on the map as well. But let's talk about that 2 coaches that were influencing your life.
Yeah, you know, I always tell people, you know, Coach Hines was probably one of my most influential mentors as a coach. You know, being right out of college and being under a guy that, you know, he'd won 3 football state titles, and a lot of people forget he won multiple titles as a baseball coach too. Just his demeanor, the way he dealt with kids and his relationships, and it was always more than football to him. And he definitely made a lasting impact on this place. ECS isn't what it is today without the work he did here, and he's definitely someone that you know, I look to as someone that did it the right way and did it in a way that is honorable, and had a lot of success doing it that way.
What about Coach Walters?
You know, Coach Walters, you know, I had 1 year under him. It just, you know, he was able to just bring, you know, a strong work ethic. He, you know, had come up from Alabama and had, you know, changed the offense a little bit, a little more wide open, and learned a lot from him, and just, you know, enjoyed my experience coaching with both those guys. Obviously, Coach Walters had success in his own right, winning a state title here, and you know, definitely someone that, like I said, you know, carried on the tradition that Coach Hines had established.
Do you have a favorite game as an assistant coach back then?
Gosh, you know, there's so many. You know, it's funny, we have a staff that are a lot of former assistants that have come back now, and so, you know, sometimes we're sitting around the office, you talk about those games. You know, it's funny, it's not even necessarily a game. It was my first scrimmage as a coach. You know, I was coming right out of college playing, and I remember I was coaching the offensive line, and you know, we were running an outside zone play, and I was having them cut the linebackers that were fast flow, and Coach Hines walks up to me and goes, "Hey, Coach, we can't do that in high school." And it's funny because one of the former linemen I had coached, Austin Marshall, is back as a coach now, and he remembers that. And just, you know, kind of you know, learning on the fly a little bit as a young coach. I think it was a scrimmage with White Station, and you know, just my first experience, you know, coaching high school football, and just learning a lot under Coach Hines.
And that's my take 1. All right, my take 2. You're you're going to talk about your Trinity Christian coaching days a little bit. Just talk about that background. I know people have always said it's been a tough place to play at in years past. Because I've been there personally when Fayette Academy was there back in the day, playing y'all. Let's talk about your Trinity Christian days comparable to ECS so far.
Trinity Christian, they took a chance on me. I was 27 years old when I got hired as a head coach up there. And, you truly don't understand what it takes to be a head coach really until you've sat in that seat. And, I was fortunate to be in a place that was very supportive, especially as a young coach that I'm sure made plenty of mistakes in that first year. One thing I really learned is to lean on your assistants and not micromanage so much. And it was a special place. I was there for 12 years. We had a lot of fun times up there. Broke the state passing record with Kyle Aiken, our quarterback. And really,
I call him the GOAT of Trinity Christian back in the day. That's what I call him.
He was a good one, it's something that will always be a special place for me. They gave me my first head coaching job, and Trinity's a school that really kind of modeled themselves after ECS, and that was one of the initial draws. Is very similar mission and families, and just the value of Christian education. So having Trinity, be my first head coaching job and being there for as long as I was, it definitely took a special job like ECS to pull me away, just because it was a place that I could have seen myself there for 30 years.
Right.
And ECS is one of those jobs that really jumped out to me just from the mission, what I want for my own kids. I've got 3 sons, 11th grader, 9th grader, and 8th grader.
God,
And so it's ECS was definitely a big draw for me when the job became available, and being able to come back and be at a place that I started my career at as a coach was definitely a big positive for me.
Yeah, you got to see these guys first game last year as well. So
yeah, and getting to play them, and like you said, seeing them and seeing what they have coming back, and just knowing, like you said, Braxton Brady, our head of school, I've known him for a while, just through the University of Memphis and his work as a team chaplain over there. It's always been, everything just kind of fell into place to really the perfect scenario for me to come back.
they did. All right, take 3. We're going to talk about a little bit of this season in general. Coach Butler, this year, they'll open up a good past year. I want to talk about last year's record. They finished the year 4-6, 1-2 in the league. Lost to Silverdale Academy first round playoffs, 27-23. But they had a huge win in the league over St. George's, 10-7. So, what kind of mindset from last year's team we're going into this year's? Let's talk about this year's team in general a little bit.
Yeah, you have a lot of guys that got some time last year. It's a relatively young team. When we look at part of taking the job, you go back and watch last year's game, and I sat down with each player individually when I got the job, and one of the questions I ask is what's your favorite memory of last season? And most of them talked about that St. George's game that got them into the playoffs. It was a close game that they pulled out in the end, and just having that desire to compete well in the region and win those games. Obviously there's been a pretty good rivalry developed with St. George's and others within the region, and so that's something that when we look at this year coming forward, we have a kid that had set out last year, Max Stegall, that
I just might remember that last name a little bit.
Yeah, he's got a couple brothers playing Arkansas Tech right now, and Max was a kid that used to be at Houston High School. As a sophomore, he was an all-region corner in that league, which is a very good league, and he'll play in the slot for us in the secondary. Great competitor. Expect big things from him this year. And then you return a lot of guys. Very heavy junior class with Kyle Mabey and some linemen, Owen Murphy, Trick Fisher, and those guys that are coming up that got some experience last year as sophomores, and really are kind of coming into their own now as juniors.
Talk about any other key spots on the quarterback position? I know you got some up for grabs and whatnot, but just talk about other skilled players.
Yeah. So we have right now it's kind of a three-man race quarterback. Cal Mabey, who's starting linebacker for us last year. Big, strong kid, big arm, really good baseball player. My son Cade, who was our starting quarterback at Trinity last year, had a good season. Really just a good all-around athlete. He actually broke the vertical jump record at Trinity before we left, and then broke one here at ECS last spring. So he's one that he can play quarterback, receiver, defensive back, just kind of wherever we need him. And then Wilkes Biggs, a sophomore coming up, has really made some strides over the spring and summer, and put his name in the hat to compete for that starting job. And really, they all bring different things to the table, and as coaches, you really feel comfortable with any three of them.
Right.
And so that's a nice spot to be in, of knowing that however it falls, you've got three quarterbacks who can go win your football games if they're behind center. And that's just having depth at that position is something that's kind of hard to find in high school, especially at a smaller school. And so just those three guys, they've been great competing, encouraging each other, because they also know that whoever wins it, the other two can help us somewhere else. And so it's really kind of a neat deal. We've got confidence in really any of them, but they're good enough athletes that they're all going to help us win games one way or another, whether it's quarterback or another position.
Any offensive lineman or defensive lineman? I know ECS is known for being linemen lately.
Yeah, as I mentioned, Owen and Tripp, and we've got Vasily Johnson, who's coming back, a senior that played a lot on both sides of the ball last year. And a young guy, Connor Martin, sophomore, good size, really good feet. He's one that I think is really going to come on this year, and develop. He missed a lot of his freshman year with some injuries, but he's healthy now and has worked his tail off in the weight room, gotten strong, and I think he's one that as the season goes on, you're going to see him get better and better, and really be one of the better linemen in our league. But by the end of it,
is there any chance any freshmen or sophomores that could basically bring out their name at the varsity level this early? Or
I think Connor's still one, and as we go through these scrimmages, just seeing kind of who steps forward. There's a couple that have shown some things, through 7-on-7s and our first scrimmage, and really just kind of waiting to see how they do in these next couple of scrimmages. But there'll probably be a couple that step forward here in the next couple of weeks that we'll see some action on Friday nights.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the schedule real quick, Coach. Week 1, Good Pasture comes to town. That's a good non-conference game to get these guys ready for the tough region that you are in, not only for down the road, but also for a playoff game as well. Week 2, y'all got at Olive Branch, another tough test, but like we talked about, Good Pasture does get the guys ready, for the postseason and whatnot as well. Week 3, you host Kingsbury. Then week 4, Lausanne comes to ECS and plays in a tough region game in that one. And I think the guys will be ready after they're playing those first 3 games to get them ready for a team like Lausanne, to be honest with you. Week 5, you got Middle College comes to ECS. Week 6, at Jackson Prep, Mississippi. Whenever you travel 3 hours away, it always affects the guys a little bit. But I think the guys in general can get ready for that non-conference game by just playing the tougher teams early on.
Yeah.
Week 7, SBA comes to ECS, another region game. Then week 8, you got a good deserved fall break, for the guys. So whatever they got to do is get their bodies rested up. They can just rest up for the tough schedule going ahead. Week 9 at USJ, another good region game, but at Jackson, another hour bus ride. Then week 10, St. George's was a little bit of revenge possibly, but y'all going to travel to St. George's in that one. Then week 11, North Point region game as well, the last home game. Senior night, they call it the ECS. But just talk about that non-conference schedule real quick, how these guys can get ready for that region, for that non-conference schedule.
Yeah, when you look at how we open up, Good Pasture kind of gives us a view of things in the middle. They're another AA private school team that is competing in that middle region, so it kind of gives us an idea of what the middle region will have. Olive Branch, obviously a tremendously talented team that has had some success down there and will definitely challenge us. And then when you look at really that trip down to Jackson Prep, they're always a really good team out of Mississippi. And really that long bus ride, it prepares you for, when you go to the playoffs, and you may have to travel to a Nashville or somewhere like that. That is not a foreign concept or experience for your kids. And so just playing that challenging non-region schedule is something that, some coaches, we travel near and far to schedule a win. We want our kids to be pushed and play some competition in our non-region games. So when we do get into region play, we've been tested, we've been put through the fire, so to speak, and our kids will be, like I said, ready for those intense region matchups.
Absolutely, that's my take 3.
Hi, it's Thomas Sellers joining you for the 4th take. Coach Butler, thanks for having us on this amazingly beautiful campus.
Thank you.
And as we can hear, it's under construction and work right now, so it's even more beautiful. So how does it feel to not only be back home, but be the man in charge of the football program?
It really is a special place, and it's an honor to be here. You look at who's come before you and who's set the seat before you, and just the success that this program's had. It's definitely a huge honor, huge responsibility, and the staff and I are excited to be able to kind of take the reins and continue that tradition and develop it. And it's something where ECS. When you look at their history, they've won a state title in every decade since the 80s. And that's something that, again, we want to continue. And so just building the program back up and getting, like I said, the program going. Our middle school numbers are really strong. And just, getting those kids to understand the tradition of ECS football, embracing it, and, just taking the responsibility of the people who laid the groundwork before them, and carrying that baton and continuing on with it.
Well, you got 6 years to continue the tradition of winning the state title in this decade here. So we're getting started now, but to build, you have to build on the foundation. What was your football foundation? Where did you play your prep football?
Actually, I played high school football in Ohio, but had been from Memphis originally. I was the son of a coach. My dad played at University of Memphis back in the 70s, played for the Seahawks for 10 years, and coached at Memphis, and then coached for 23 years in the NFL. And that's why when people ask, my influences in coaching, there's a lot of guys that I've learned from, but I always come back to Coach Hines. As the first guy I worked under is probably the most influential one. And just looking at that, I had an opportunity to play at the University of Memphis, had a great experience there.
What position?
Offensive line. So.
I did want to assume by looking at you, but yeah.
I got a few buddies I played with that were DBs that look like linemen now, so they're part of getting old, I guess.
Yeah. So, but you've been in the trenches on a D1 level, been all over the United States, playing the game, learning the game, and you bring all that knowledge here. But you talk about how impactful your influence up in Jackson was. Building a program that has become a recognizable power across the state. Talk about that experience and how that's going to help you here.
When I got to Trinity, they had come off of a state final appearance and really graduated a huge senior class. So I had 3 kids that had played varsity football, a bunch of young kids, and so we had to play a bunch of freshmen early. And it was a learning experience for me as a first-time head coach, and them having to play early. But over the next few years, that team went on to make semifinal appearances and set records, and it was #1 team in 2A football for a few weeks. It was definitely something that I always treasured in my time at Trinity, but that's something that being back here at ECS and having that experience at Trinity, I think has prepared me for this job of where if I had gone straight from assistant to head coach here, I may have had a different perspective than what I have now, and that's something that I can kind of lean on, just that experience. And then our staff, we've got a couple guys, David Carter, who's been the head coach at St. George's, was an assistant here under Coach Hines. Aubrey Bourne has been a head coach down in Mississippi, was a former assistant here who's come back. And just a lot of guys that are well known around the area and the state for their coaching abilities, but also who they are as people. They care about kids, they love kids, and great teachers of the game.
And my last question for you, Coach. You're in a unique seat. You not only play, but you're the son of a coach. Now your father is coaching his son. So I'm going to ask you this question: what did you learn from your dad about coaching and how to coach his son?
Well, those are all relationships that are built on love and trust, and that's something that one thing I'm grateful for being here at ECS is we have a large enough staff where sometimes my kids don't have to get the wrath of coach and dad, and so just being able to leave football here and not necessarily take it home with us, and just being a father at home. That's something that again, I can't say I've always done it perfectly, but I've talked to a couple guys that have had the experience of coaching their own kids, and they said cherish that time. It's a special time. It's a special relationship to be able to coach your sons, and even next year I'll have an 8th grader that'll come up, and I'll have 3 on the team, and so I may go fully gray at that point, but it's definitely a time that I'm not going to wish it away, and embrace it, and be able to hopefully look back in later years and just remember this experience of being able to not only coach here at ECS, but to be able to do it with my kids.
Well, look for part 2 with Coach Butler. My 3 sons is coming back next year. But Coach, we appreciate it. Thank you for inviting us and taking a moment with us.
I appreciate y'all coming by.
Coach Butler, thank you again for coming on JS Report. What else we got going on this coming up?
Well, the reporters have to be in shape too. It's going to be hot out there, so we got to get you ready. So we got a few sets with this dumbbell. So I think we need to get on a bench over here and get ready to roll. So
My 2 days are over with, Coach. I'm sorry.
Come on, Jonathan. Here you go. Here you go.